So I've read a bunch of articles, or I've seen some ads on YouTube, or I've heard stuff from parents once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
This was like maybe a year or two ago, but it has come up recently as well about parents needing to vaccinate their children. But I believe it's mostly up to the parents. Even if the kids get sick, that's the parents' fault.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe it's like their problem whether or not the child gets vaccinated, and the schools aren't allowed to yell at them about it or vaccinate them without their permission.
Right.
The parents.
I did see something recently about, I don't remember where it was, but they're making a law or a rule where kids can get, what vaccine was it? I don't know if it was HPV or even just the flu shot or something without parents' approval.
It some schools actually vaccinate the kids without the parents' consent. Just
which seems a bit odd to me.
Them getting sick, or because wasn't it that some children died because of getting sick?
Well, that's the thing that they're disputing is whether or not.
They can't hear you. Shut up.
They're disputing whether or not the vaccines actually cause problems, I think.
Well, what does it matter if the kid gets sick? I don't mean it in that way, but it's the parents' problem if the kid gets sick.
So we all agree that it's up to them for it.
I would say so. I think there's some nuance to it. Like one of the things that I've heard suggested, I think this was actually by Tim Pool, who we talked about last time, is if your kid's going to go to public school, then the government may have a say in whether or not they should be vaccinated, right? Because you're participating in a government program or whatever you want to call it.
Well, yeah,
so I can kind of understand that. But at the same time, the only people at risk are the unvaccinated children. Like you're not going to go spread, polio or whatever to the kids who are already vaccinated.
Right.
So I don't quite understand the concern.
I've also heard so many people being like, bro, you need to get vaccinated, otherwise you're going to get everybody else sick.
I've had a lot of people
doesn't make any sense, because then what's the point of getting vaccinated?
Yeah, that's not how it works. If you're vaccinated, then you don't get sick, right? So it's happening only to people who aren't vaccinated.
But I've heard so many people that are unaware of that.
Like, to be honest,
how are you not aware?
I was vaccinated as a kid, but I didn't like shots or anything like that. And my parents sometimes would approve of it, but then there's some that they wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
For some shots, because they'd hear things about kids getting sick from the shots, which that has happened to me. I've gotten sick from getting a shot.
So what exactly are vaccines?
They're basically, isn't it some type of...
It's as far as I know, with the flu shot, right? It's a what do you call it? A deactivated or dead version of the virus.
Pretty much. It's supposed to be some sort of virus that actually helps the
body. It's it gives your body the virus so that it can build up antibodies to it, but it's not active so that it doesn't give your body the disease or whatever.
It's often made from weakened or killed forms.
Yeah. So your body can identify what it is and build up antibodies to it without actually being affected by it.
Pretty much. It's supposed to be an antibody helping shot, pretty much.
So that obviously sounds kind of shifty in itself, if you're kind of, paranoid about such things and don't just trust blindly. But there's also a concern about other elements within the vaccines, what is it, aluminum or mercury or something that can be in the vaccine when you get them, I think. If you know who Rob Schneider is?
Nope.
I've heard of the name.
He's an actor. He played in the movie The Animal. He's in some of the Adam Sandler movies. I don't know what.
I've heard. You're just too old.
Anyway, he's an actor, boomer. Comedian. I'm sure you know who Adam Sandler is.
No.
Oh my God, Bean.
I've heard of Adam Sandler.
Oh yeah. He's
who is Adam Sandler?
If you're on Netflix, then you've seen some of his movies because they have a number of them that are made specifically for Netflix.
I didn't hear what you said.
There's the problem. I don't normally watch movies, so.
Well, I didn't expect you to. I thought Crazy would know though.
Yeah.
What movie?
any other, like Adam Sandler or Rob Schneider. Like, I could understand not knowing who Rob Schneider is, but not knowing who Adam Sandler is crazy.
Okay, but like what movies?
They're comedies, essentially.
Is it kind of like what was it? I'm trying to think of the movie that I'm talking about. I can't remember.
Have you ever seen The Waterboy?
Yes.
That's an Adam Sandler movie.
Oh.
He's the water boy.
Okay, yeah. I've seen that. I remember seeing that movie in like high school. So that was like almost 5 years ago.
Well, there's a scene in that movie where they're like churning on him, I think, and this like kooky dude comes out of a little hut or whatever and says, "You can do it."
Oh, that was funny.
That's Rob Schneider, I think, if I'm not mistaken. That was him. Anyway, so he's a comedy actor. He's been in like big movies and stuff, and he's like an anti-vaxxer, I think. Like, or I don't know if he's necessarily anti-vaxxer, but I've saw that he's on Twitter and he's promoting. There's a movie that came out recently about it, the documentary. Was it called Vaxxed or something like that? And I think he kind of promotes it and is talks about things on Twitter regarding vaccines and being I guess like you could call it against them, but a lot of the discussion I've seen from him and other people that I think he retweets is kind of just being more skeptical, not necessarily dismissive, but just skeptical of it.
Well, I'm not against vaccines. Like, some can help you, like a tetanus shot and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like with my brother, he stepped on a nail and it went through his foot and stretched the top of his skin. And he had to get a tetanus, and his foot's still recovering, and that was only like a week ago, maybe. No. But his foot recovered pretty fast.
I actually recently got a tetanus shot.
I haven't had a tetanus shot or a flu shot for over 5 years, and I'm fine.
I don't know if I've ever had a flu shot, at least not since childhood.
I don't think
I was like a decade overdue for the tetanus shot.
The only sick that I would ever get is maybe a small cough. And I don't take medication or anything, but I feel I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm very skeptical of the flu shot. I just don't know. Like, it seems, I get like older people getting it, or maybe even children who with weak immune systems, but I don't know.
If you have a weak immune system, then sometimes shots can help because it helps boost.
Wait, what?
Huh?
Can you say that again?
If you have a weak immune system, sometimes shots can help boost your, what was it? Something. What are you looking at me for? What?
I don't think that's how it works, but.
So like,
what for shots are you talking about?
The kind you get at a club, you know?
For a flu shot?
At a bar.
I think I'm okay with like just allowing parents to do what they want with it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what we all came down to, is just like skepticism, but parents are allowed to. I don't really know if there's anywhere else to go because we don't know anything about the science. There's too many stories of people who claim they're fine, other people who say they like retarded their kid because of it and stuff. So it's like, who knows?
I don't know about that.
I remember wasn't there a video? I mean, I know it was a thing, but I don't remember, was it vaccines or whatever? Like a girl who claimed that she could only walk backwards after getting a shot or something?
My opinion is, I don't like them. But also, I don't think they should ever have to be forced on anybody.
Yeah.
Because it's only supposedly how they're supposed to work. It's only going to affect yourself.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, wouldn't say I'm against them because you do you. I don't care.
The point of contention from people is regarding the fact that, like, you do you, I don't care, it doesn't affect me kind of thing, is everyone's always trying to figure out what's right for children.
Yeah, see, that's kind of a thing. It's the parents' fault if the children get sick, or it's their problem. They deal with it. But then you have parents that aren't all that great. So then what do you do? I keep hearing people, like, it's become a meme, anti-vax.
Yeah, it's basically a meme now.
And everybody's like, no, but seriously, get your kids vaccinated. And what I don't like is they're like, okay, so how does it work? Or another, like, get vaccinated because if you don't, then we're going to get sick. Like, well, you already got vaccinated. How's that supposed to work?
Well,
that's like saying it doesn't work. So what you're saying is it doesn't work?
Yeah. Like, you're going to bring back these diseases, like, only for other people who aren't vaccinated. Presumably, to my understanding, that's how it would be.
And if they have a problem with it, they could get vaccinated.
Yeah.
That's one of those things, like, I hate about society, where people are like, obviously, I think there's truth in a lot of things where if enough people agree, then it's probably true. But there's also an issue of, like, people will go along with something just because other people are going with it.
Yeah.
So you have, like, this annoying, smug attitude that people will get is like, but seriously, get vaccinated. Like, just, it's so obvious that's what you're supposed to do. And it's like, for the most part, yeah, but, like, you can't just dismissively say, like, all these people who claim that it had negative effects on them or their kids are just coming out of nowhere. Like, some people, I think, are suggesting that they are trying to get money out of it, like trying to just sue people and get money, and it's fraudulent, I guess. But some of the pushback that I've seen, like I said, Rob Schneider tweeting it on Twitter and stuff, is talking about these people who are kind of like putting themselves out there for their name to get dragged into the mud because of how unpopular that opinion is. And, the suggestion is like, why would they put themselves in that position if they knew that it was just fake and they were just trying to get money or something? Like, I don't know if that's really a sound argument. People do all kinds of stuff that would seem undesirable for fame or infamy or money. But it is a point to consider, which is, people are going to use their children and make themselves unpopular. There's a lot at stake just for a little bit of money, but that doesn't mean people wouldn't do it.
Well, my ultimate opinion, which is very uneducated, but it's my opinion, is that vaccines are very much overrated and not near as effective as they're bragged up to be.
Yeah. I always worry about, like, what if they get contaminated or something? Like, you're having something injected into you.
Yeah, that's another thing. But first off, how I understand them working requires you to have a strong immune system so that you don't get sick from it. So it's like you're intentionally, I know it's a weakened version, but if your immune system isn't strong enough to overcome that, you're just going to get sick from that.
Yeah.
It seems a bit odd.
Yeah, essentially, it's basically a man-made version of what your immune system does. Like, when you're a baby, you're supposed to crawl around on the floor and get all the germs and get sick and build up antibodies to them. So it's kind of like forcing that natural process to happen.
But I guess I really can't say that much because I'm very much uneducated. But
that's like what you're saying about being uneducated. That's kind of where, like, I don't know, like, obviously that is a point that needs to be brought up, and for the most part, most people probably shouldn't be talking about things because they're uneducated. But that's also the thing of, like, if because you're uneducated about a subject you can never say anything about it, then no one would be talking about it, because how many things can people dedicate themselves to learning that much about? No, I'm not saying that people who don't know what the hell they're talking about should have a say and people should listen to them, but what it comes down to, I think, is not so much being uneducated about something. It's about the information that is presented not being reliable. So, like, there are people who study this, like, a subject, and then they'll have two different people who've both studied the subject for years come out on opposite sides of the argument. So it's like, whose information is reliable? And, like, if there's anecdotes or examples of things going wrong, are those the majority or not the majority? Is it enough of a percentage to be concerned about? There's all these things that have to be taken into consideration, and not everyone's going to be an expert and try to understand the ins and outs. And again, like I said, even the experts often disagree about things. So the point of, like, I'm not that educated, so I don't know what to say, like, doesn't mean that you can't have some kind of opinion. Obviously, I don't think if you don't know for sure what you're talking about, you should be advocating for new laws and legislation. But just in terms of having a conversation, I think the only thing you can really do is just go on the information that is kind of well known and what you have in hand.
Yeah. And still, Wow, I forgot what I was gonna say. It was a really good point. No.
You need some Alpha Brain. Buy on it.
Dude, it was a really good point. What? How does that even happen? I was literally about to start talking, and it's just like, nope.